going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. Again, I just love the fact that the fourth film before this is called The Final Chapter, and then they went ahead and called the next one A New Beginning right after. I find that to just be hilarious. But yes, here we are with the fifth film in this franchise, and one that a lot of people don't even count as a Friday the 13th film, or at least not as a Jason film. And I guess I'm going to go ahead and start with spoilers right out of the gate. The big thing, the big reveal about this movie, the one that makes this one special amongst all these films that in a lot of ways are very similar, is the fact that this film actually does not have Jason in it. Now, you do get to see Jason kind of at the beginning of the film via a dream sequence, which is the only scene where we get to see Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis again. There's like a dream sequence. We see Jason kill two people, and yeah, then you find out it's a nightmare. And then you're introduced to the new Tommy Jarvis on this film, played by John Shepherd. We see him around 18 to his early 20s or so, and yeah, he's essentially kind of loony right now. Tommy Jarvis is like the Laurie Strode of this series. He's the one recurring human character that Jason has to deal with. He's only in 3 of the movies, but yeah, he is the one main character, I guess you could say, is a recurring character in this franchise. And in this middle piece of his story, I just find it to be okay. You know, I enjoy it for what it is. Like I mentioned, Jason is not in this film. You find out at the very end of the film that it's a guy wearing a Jason mask and wearing like a Jason outfit and going around killing people. And I'll explain why in just one moment. But yeah, as far as this film goes on an overall level, it's not compelling. It doesn't have a gripping narrative. Similar to the other ones, you just have a bunch of crazy characters that are going to get killed. The crazy factor in this film seems to be a little bit higher, specifically when it comes to characters like the hillbilly characters.
You think I don't know what those 2 perverts were doing in my yard?
Say it like you mean it, Ma.
Would you shut the fuck up?
I just think some of the acting and just dialogue and the overall just world in this one is a little bit more heightened than some of the past ones. But yeah, this one for me is definitely not one of my favorites. I don't hate it. There are definitely some really good kills in here, though if you know anything about these films as an overall level, and this film specifically, there's a lot of really great kills or just special effects that were cut from this film just because of how gory they were. It was just that time in filmmaking. So, you know, and that goes for the films right before it as well. Like a bunch of these films and a lot of the Friday the 13th films definitely felt the effects of just being censored a lot of times, when they had some really amazing effects that you can probably find online or in some behind the scenes things. But yeah, as far as this film goes on an overall level, you do have a solid set of kills in this film. This film, I believe, has the highest body count of any of the Friday the 13th films. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's the case, or at least he has a lot more than the previous ones had up to this point, which is always funny because this franchise has to do with Jason, and you know, this one doesn't have Jason and he has a higher body count in this film. So really, when it comes down to the narrative of this film, you have Tommy Jarvis, who, like I mentioned, is kind of not all there right now. He's not all there. He kind of is just going through all this stuff. Obviously, he has all this trauma from the past when he was there and killing Jason, and you know, you kind of get some flashbacks from the last film in this movie. And he essentially is being taken to this home, kind of like this barn home, where he's going to be with a bunch of other people who are kind of in, you know, I guess it's like a mental institution in a way, or like a place where they can help you with different mental things. And it's really weird, to be honest, because majority of the kids who are at this thing, or the people who are a part of this home, aren't necessarily like mentally unstable. They're just kind of weird or kind of outcast kind of characters. However, there are 2 characters at the beginning of this movie at this home that are the reason this whole movie takes place. There's one of these dudes who's just, you know, not all there. He's definitely really awkward, and he's going around asking people if they want to have this chocolate bar. He says he wants to help people, and he's just kind of making a mess of things. And he goes over and continually keeps asking this guy if he wants chocolate. Now, this guy who he's asking is sitting there just chopping wood very aggressively, and he just keeps asking this guy if he wants chocolate. He's kind of an ass about it when the guy says no, but the guy's kind of an ass when he says no as well. And then the dude just decides to just shove the axe right in this fat boy's back, the guy who's asking about the chocolate. He just stabs him right in the back with the axe.
Here, Vic, want a bite? Here, I'll just put it over here. And later on, when you're hungry, you can have it. Well, if that's the way you feel, forget it, Vic. Just forget it. But I think you're really out of line.
There you go, the first kill of the movie, not from Jason at all. And, you know, outside of the dream sequence, yeah, this was the first official kill in the movie. Not too long after, some paramedics and police officers and all those people show up to move the body. And when they lift up the sheet to look at the dead body that's under there, one of the EMTs, one of the paramedics, has kind of a weird face. And it turns out that that guy ends up actually being the killer of this film. The fat guy on the ground who's now been killed, that was going around asking everybody about the chocolate bar, was actually his son. And so this film is just a revenge film. He just decides to go crazy after his son was killed by this other crazy person at this house for loonies, apparently. And yeah, he just ends up just killing everybody. That's essentially the story. You have a father who's going around getting revenge for his son who was murdered, and I don't really have much to say about this film. It's not really a Jason film. I'm not really crazy about John Shepherd as Tommy Jarvis. I feel like it's not necessarily him. His performance was fine, but I feel like the role, the writing around his character just kind of had him being so kind of nervous all the time, paranoid, and you know, I get it. He went through trauma, but you know, this franchise should have a little bit more of fun with it, I guess you could say. And yeah, he just kind of is scared and nervous majority of the film until the very end of the film. And then at the very end of the film, they essentially you know, hint at the fact that he's going to be the next Jason, which they also hinted at the end of Final Chapter. And then in the next movie, Jason Lives, they don't really play off of that at all. The whole idea of him being the next Jason is really not played off of ever again in this franchise, even though he only is in 3 films. But yeah, on an overall level, I think that this movie's okay. It's not one of my favorites of this franchise. There are some really great kills, though, specifically the guy who gets his head strangled with a belt. You know, there's definitely some really great effects in here. I would say that that's definitely the best part about this movie, the special effects and just the overall look and tone of this film. Of course, with each film, you get better cinematography and just better camera quality in general. And they had a higher budget with each of the films as well, so they were able to do a lot more as far as the special effects. But yeah, of course, you just have a bunch of your sleazy characters who are all driven by sex in this movie that are making really bad choices or have really bad lines of dialogue with subpar acting. But, you know, it's a slasher film. If you can have fun with these, yeah, there's definitely a lot of fun to be had. I think a lot of people are disappointed by this movie simply on the fact that it really isn't a Jason film. However, the next film, the 6th film, Jason Lives, is my personal favorite, so I am excited to talk about that. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be my thoughts on this movie. I don't have too much more to say about it. You know, it's pretty basic, it's pretty subpar. It's not my favorite of this franchise, but I know a lot of people love it, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. So definitely leave those comments down below. Let me know what you thought about this movie. Do you love it? Do you not love it? Where does it sit in the franchise for you? I think if you're a fan of slashers and a fan of Jason overall, there's definitely fun to be had here. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to say this is a bad movie. On an overall level, there is fun to be had here as an old 80s slasher. I had fun with it on that level, and I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say down below in the comments. Thank you guys again. I will be doing my review for Jason Lives very soon with Q Reviews and Rashad G Reviews, once again, who were in my review for the final chapter, so look out for that, and I'll see each and every single one of you in the next video. Bye-bye.